Hi, I'm Bet Hochberger, CPA, CGMA, and on today's Finance Friday, we have a special guest, Karrie Klimas. Karrie is an expert in communications, and she's going to share with us today some fantastic tips for better networking. Obviously, things have changed with COVID and Zoom and all that, but what are things that are kind of tried and true um, best practices, even in an age of COVID, even in an age of Zoom for networking? Because I'm sure everybody can do it better, myself included.
Of course, of course. Well, I'll give myself this. So I co-lead trainer for our communications workshop called Great People Skills, Skills for Being, Great People. So I'll give myself that little plug. Reasons why I can also share this since got to cover ourselves experts. So why not give myself that permission, as well as a, self-discovery life mastery coach. But I'll say when it comes to networking, the goal for us is even in self-discovery is training you to pay more attention. So if you can get your attention, acting like being curious and acting like an explorer, being open to see what people are doing and having conversations. Most people might too much in their head, judging themselves and putting themselves in fear rather than being open to take the chance to see what who else is out there and connect to people,
I
you
gotta
know?
say, that is definitely a problem I have. Like, I talk to people, and the whole time I'm like, oh God, wait, I forgot their name already. What did they say they do? When do I have to pick up my kids? And I'm like having this whole thing. I'm just like smiling,
Correct.
nodding, and at the end, I'm like, oh God, I should have been paying attention. So, are there any like techniques that we can do to do better at that? Especially me, I really need to know.
So we're going to train you how to discipline your attention so you can be more present and more aware of what's actually being said and the person in front of you and trusting yourself you can retain more, whether you do or you don't, not making yourself feel bad that you didn't. I need to beat yourself
That's
up.
great. Don't beat yourself up. I know. Like, we're all very hard on ourselves. We should like be a little nicer. What about after you go to some networking event? I can't tell you how many times I've gone, and you get this stack of business cards, and it's like crickets. Like, so I'm like, I guess you gotta be a little bit more proactive. Like, what's a good follow up system if you're networking?
Well, I'll definitely say, I mean, also being able to be more deliberate. So I had a networking event. I was at a networking event last night. And so I've got I mean, I'm in networking for 10 years. And so always looking for a way to keep those business cards organized. So I get a a notebook, like the kids do, a notebook. And I staple 5 cards on a page. And next to the cards or on the cards, I actually might write like the date I met them, where I met them, maybe some little notes, because this way I can follow up with them. And then if I don't hear back from them ever, I might try 3 or 4 times to connect. And if I don't talk to them or hear back a word or peep, I can rip that card back out. And then ones I do prefer that I've heard from and keep following up with can stay in that notebook.
That's
But
interesting. So, is that, do you think it's better to do it in kind of like a manual format like that versus trying to do it maybe digital? I know I've tried so many times to organize digital business cards, and it's a challenge to keep up with it and maintain it and do all that kind of stuff. So, do you
well,
think
in my
it?
world, I trust everybody would like to save some time. Now, if you really, really, really want to do that, for me, why not? For me, I keep it in the business card because their information is there. If I did make a connection, then I put their information in my phone, not maybe like a Google Calendar, make an event and say, hey, I spoke to this person, then wrote the date and place where I met them, and follow along at that my sense of a second or third contact. But for me to keep doing more work, why do I want to keep putting more work on my plate? I'd rather take the card, take it, no response after 3, 4 times, and delete them. I mean, I don't need to put them in a database, and if they become a client, there's a chance to put them in the database. But
That, but that's awesome. That's a great way to kind of avoid like digital clutter, because I know one of the things I end up with so many contacts, and I'm like, who is this person? Don't remember, were they ever a client? Did I meet them somewhere? So that's kind of a great idea to not necessarily throw them in right away and just see, because sometimes people are just being nice when they're at a networking event and they don't really have any interest in ever talking to you again. But I
right, so
have,
the goal, yeah, would definitely put the ones you feel interested, keep in
yeah,
the book. And if they don't feel interesting after check in, because you put the date there, check in with yourself. A couple months. If you never heard a peep back, you call them, you email them, you text them. I mean, it's all forms of communication. If
yeah,
you're not getting a response, but I'll also say a lot of people um, just email people trying to get to say, here's all my information. my goal would be, set up a time to meet for coffee or have a Zoom, because it's really not about tossing out more of your information. It's about getting to know each other. I always encourage people to say, I want to get to know more about you as well, because if I just have your card and they're going to say maybe no to me, they might not be interested in what I offer, but I don't even know who you are. So if somebody might need your services, but I never met you, but the person who did take the time to meet for coffee or Zoom most likely will get my business first, because right now you're just a person on a card and you really didn't take the time to get to know me, and I didn't get a chance to know you either. So,
And that kind of goes back to the idea of, people do business with people. They don't necessarily do business with a business. So if they know you, you have a relationship, even if it's not like such a strong one. I mean, I've had people refer clients to me, or even people who I met years ago. They're like, "Oh, I still have your card. I met you at something," and call me up. And I'm always surprised. I'm like, "Really? You remember me from then?" Like, I don't remember what I had for breakfast. I don't have the best memory, but no, it's definitely important. I think those interpersonal skills and those connections and learning how to systematize it, like you're talking about, I think is just brilliant. And having that deliberate communication and that deliberate follow up, I think it would be an amazing thing for anyone who's trying to grow a business, or even if you're just been doing it for a long time, do it better.
yeah, and I'll say too, that I'll say in 2018, I got one of these, $11 books of the calendars, and I was writing more stuff. Like, why would I keep somebody that had no interest? And so a couple of years later, I just got a dollar store calendar, a small little one, and I just wrote the people that were interested in our workshops or whatever, just put their name on that date. Why do I need to have this whole book of people who aren't interested? I'd rather keep my attention on the people who were interested and put their name in a space that I can remember, and simplify life, because you'd rather have more time to spend, you know, things you need to enjoy, rather than putting all this work in for people who may or may not want what you have to offer. But take that first step and then, get it moving forward. It is, then put them in, send them an email if they agree to, get on your database for that.
That's awesome. I think that's some great advice. Does anything change with COVID and Zoom and any of that, with as far as networking, or if you're doing any online networking, which I've tried a couple. I didn't really love it, but does it really greatly affect how you do things versus like in the real world?
Well, I mean, everything has to be a follow up. I mean, when I go there's always an intention. So yesterday I attended two virtual Zoom calls from a group called Happy Neighborhood Project back to back. And then I went last night to a face to face event. So my intention, and I trust everybody would consider having an intention going in, meeting, walking away with two or more people that actually want to have a one on one with you. Why would you do something and not plan to have a following afterwards, an intention to get something moving forward? So I'll say the virtual people that I've been finding out since I've been virtually networking since July, more deliberately, is because I have that Calendly.com. I put it, about $10 a month at Calendly. When I do a lot of the virtual, my information's in the chat. And then yesterday I walked away with three people finding me on LinkedIn, messaged me and said they want to have a one-on-one. So I didn't even click on anybody's calendar. They found me, messaged me, and then I just clicked in my calendar link, or they saved it, and next thing you know, they're on my calendar. And face to face, I'm going to say, takes a little bit longer. I feel like when you're doing virtual, people are more deliberate. Yeah, give me your calendar. Let's leverage our time. Boom. And I network, message people my calendar. Sometimes I don't always see that, but I still call and check in with people. And sometimes they get distracted. But
Really, people get distracted. I don't know what what are they getting distracted by. But that's interesting that you're finding that it's actually a little easier to do it online. I would think that the in person would be better. Like you have the more social cues and the eye contact and all that stuff. I would think would be better. But I don't know, maybe just the fact that it's at your fingertips, literally, when you're on a computer, it's very easy to get on someone's calendar.
Yeah, looks like I was going to say, there was the group that I was with was a women. It was a women's group. I only had two breakout rooms. People who messaged me, they weren't even in my breakout room. They saw my name in the side in the main chat room. They obviously saw my calendar. They took the time to reach out to me and friend request me and want to have a one-on-one. Why would I not take the opportunity to do that? Reply. If somebody's reaching out to me and I spend 30 minutes, what do I have to lose? I mean, I'd rather take that opportunity to put my contact information. They didn't even meet me, and they want to meet me. Okay, great. Let's see where that takes us. So
That's awesome. All right, Karrie, you gave us such great information, great suggestions. So I have one last question. Do you
okay.
have any strange or interesting hobbies or something unusual about you that we couldn't tell from this? Like, obviously, you're a great communicator, so don't tell me that. Like, something off the wall.
Off the wall. So let's say I used to bartend. I jumped out of a perfectly good plane. I am very well organized and discipline my attention very well. Like to keep a clean house and hire a decorator that comes every 4 or 6 months to stay organized and feel like I have a new house all the time.
So do you think the bartending is why you're a good communicator? I feel like
No,
you can't
no.
bartend. It's not that. I was like,
Well,
"Oh, that's your secret."
I had good people skills back then, but becoming going to the work I'm in, I'm able to be more deliberate and highly effective in how I'm communicating better, be more confident, feel more natural, just be myself
Gotcha.
everywhere. But that was a good place and to use my communication skills for sure.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Karrie. If anyone wants to get a hold of you, we're going to put your information in here. Feel free to reach out to Karrie. She does some fantastic programs, and everyone can use to be a better communicator. That's for sure. And thank you so much. We will see you next time.